I'm fascinated by the processing power of the human brain. I mean, especially how it works with the mechanics of our body. I think it's kind of extraordinary that human beings can teach themselves to do things like this, or this, or this. I mean, it's pretty insane, and it's just kind of cool. It's also incredibly complex. I was at a camp, an engineering camp in the early 80s, where we were simply trying to get a robot to go in a straight line down a hallway. Now, this was no more than a trash can with 3 wheels, an archaic sensor, and probably less processing power than the modern-day microwave. And we couldn't get it to go in a straight line without veering into one wall or the other. We eventually had to compensate for the archaic, low-grade technology by coming up with an algorithm to make it purposefully weave back and forth like some kind of drunken sailor, just to get it down from one end of the hallway to the other. And you flash forward 30 years, and we've seen these incredible 4-legged robots moving over uneven ground while someone tries to knock them over. And more recently, even true bipedal robotic motion, which is impressive, it is. I mean, after all, it took several million years of human evolution and about 10 months for my son to figure out how to do this. And as humans, we just take it for granted. But as the engineers at Boston Dynamics or MIT will attest to, it takes a massive amount of processing power and complex mechanical engineering to make bipedal motion work. I mean, think about it. You've got to send these messages to one leg to lift, to move forward, while all of these messages are going back and forth to the opposing leg and your upper body to keep you balanced. You put it down, lift, move, balance, and human beings make this look effortless. And think of where this amazing skill evolved to. We have the ability to move, to run over uneven terrain through a forest, and we're running, and we're going over rocks and roots, and we're ducking under branches and moving left around trees and right around bushes. And while all these neurons are firing and all these calculations are going on, we have the ability to add cognitive thought. We can track prey. We're now stalking a deer. And as we're running along, our deer moves to the left and we move to the left. The deer moves to the right and we move to the right. And right at the moment we're leaping over a fallen log, our deer darts left. And we have the added capacity to pull back a spear, to calculate instantaneously the relative velocity of the deer moving left, our bodies falling right, to thrust at exactly the right trajectory and release at exactly the right moment to bring down that prey. I mean, that's incredible. Our brains are awesome. And how do I use this incredibly evolved processing power most of the time? Well, like this, or this. Now, I'm not mocking it. It's how I do my work. It's how, as a society, we communicate. It's how we connect. It's even how we do important commerce, philanthropy, and sometimes even great art. But I do find that this kind of low-grade physical and mental engagement from sun up to sun down can be draining. It creates this kind of unrelenting buzz. And I do think there's real value in getting away from this and kind of tapping into that primal processing power. So how do I do it? Well, ice climbing, skiing, whitewater kayaking, rock climbing. I know, why not just go for a run? Well, I do, and I enjoy it. But I even find that if I'm running over that uneven ground without that added cognitive challenge, my mind just wanders. It wanders to the emails I need to write, the phone calls I need to make, the deals I'm negotiating. When I'm rock climbing, something completely different happens. Picture this. I'm climbing up El Capitan. It's a 3,000-foot vertical wall in Yosemite Valley. I'm 800 feet off the deck, and I've got my right foot on a small little flake. I've got my hands jammed in a vertical crack running up the wall, and my left foot is just delicately balanced on the smooth wall to stop me from rotating out of the crack. And as every muscle in my body is engaged, holding me to this wall, all these things firing, I can still look up, puzzle my way through the route, make a move, even clip a piece of rock climbing gear into the wall, and continue this delicate physical and mental ballet up the wall. And what I find is when I'm fully engaged, both physically and mentally, something interesting happens. I lose time. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, it just slips away. And it's not vegging out, it's not zoning out. You can't be. It's this odd dichotomy where you're physically and mentally engaged and focused in the action, and at the same time entirely lost in the moment. And I've heard this notion of losing time from other athletes who are in sports where there's a physical and cognitive component to them. We get in a whitewater kayak and you're on the river and you're balancing out and every muscle's firing to kind of keep you upright, and every eddy and every hole's trying to twist you and turn you, and your mind is looking downstream, picking its way through the rapids to survive, and all the while time just sort of slips away. And I've even heard it from other disciplines. Musicians. A concert pianist who is physically aware of every single note, consciously making interpretations of style and form, and all the while just a little lost in the music. Now, I'm sure my family would prefer that I was getting my mental respite from playing the piano rather than extreme sports. And some might even accuse me of being an adrenaline junkie, but it's not about that. It's not about this, although it does look kind of fun. It's not about sitting back, being gripped along for the ride. It's about that moment when you're on a pair of skis and you leap off a cliff into a narrow couloir, narrow chute, and every muscle in your body wants to lean back from the danger. But if you do, you're going to land and your skis will go shooting out and smack you into that wall. And what you have to do is you have to get over your skis. You have to aggressively attack it. And as you land, again, every muscle in your body firing to keep you upright. And your mind engaged, looking forward, saying, I'm going to have to make a turn or I'm going to smack into that wall. And you turn and you ride up the other side of that couloir, and at the right momentum, spin back down and continue to pick your way down through the rocks and snow. And yes, it's dangerous, but it's not the out-of-control danger. It's about being in control. It's about riding that razor's edge, but you're doing it and doing it well. And that's the thrill. And sure, the more difficult the challenge, maybe a little bit more of the danger, the more satisfying that accomplishment is. And absolutely, skiing that narrow chute, paddling the perfect line down a Class 5 rapid, topping out on a mixed rock and ice route at high altitude, these things are invigorating. They are. But I think what you might find surprising is they're also oddly relaxing, even calming, and I truly believe ultimately restorative. It's as if combining the physical and the mental and then pushing it to the outer limits of its ability allows us to tap into, something else. I was invited on an expedition to climb Mount Everest a number of years ago. It was a charity expedition to raise money in the High Khumbu region of Nepal, build schools in the High Khumbu region of Nepal. And it was a very difficult expedition. It was fraught with horrible weather and a truly great tragedy. But there was this one moment. It was about 4:30 in the morning, and I was all alone, moving towards the summit of the southeast ridge. Other than my headlamp lighting my way, I couldn't see evidence of anybody in front of me or below me or around me. I was now at about 28,000 feet. So I was now above the summits of Nuptse and Lhotse, and other than the rocky ridge right in front of me, I could see 360 degrees around, and there was this faint hint of pre-dawn lighting up the Himalayas below, and above me was the blackest sky you've ever seen. I mean, not the millions of stars you see in a cool desert night, but billions and trillions of stars, apparently having no atmosphere. And as I looked down, 8,000 feet below me, these black clouds have woven in amongst the peaks, and a lightning storm is going off. I mean, here I am floating in space, looking down on this lightning storm, and I was just struck by the vastness of it all. I mean, the massive mountain beneath my feet, the Himalayas stretching out below me, the greater world beyond the horizon, the infinite universe above me. And not just physically, but temporally. I mean, how long this all took to create. And in the face of that, I couldn't help but feel, well, incredibly insignificant. As if my existence was nothing more than this sort of microscopic grain of sand in this sea of time. But in the moment of feeling that my existence was only this, I had a profound sense that, at least for that moment, I did exist. So I don't know. I mean, maybe the combination of the physical and the mental and the losing time, the riding the razor's edge, the tapping into that primal processing power, maybe all of this, and even this is an attempt, if just for a moment, to get a brief glimpse of this. Thank you.